Thanks for choosing the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more hip hop news to talk about this Rick Ross and Drake situation. Now, recently, Rick Ross has been given flack for still performing songs that included Drake in them or had Drake, in some part of it, um like the songs that he's had all the way in the past with Drake. So people are giving him flack saying, "All right, if you're beefing with Drake, why are you still performing the songs?" But Rick Ross feels that, it's a part of my catalog. I can still perform it. I'm not having somebody do Drake's part. I'm just doing my verse. But, and the consensus from a lot of people are that Drake somehow made Rick Ross's career, or Drake is a essential part of Rick Ross's career, or Rick Ross needed Drake in any kind of way. And I'm here to say he never did. So Rick Ross's catalog and his discography and his artistry stands alone. He's not one of these artists that had a Drake feature and went to top of the charts. He was top of the charts before, way before Drake came in the picture, and actually before Drake actually was in the picture. I'm hustling. His first single that made it big was top on the charts, and this was before Drake even had really a popping single for himself. So Rick Ross is one of those artists that can stand alone. He doesn't need a cosign. Most of the time, actually, he was the cosign for others, i.e., a Wale, i.e., a Omarion, i.e., Meek Mills, i.e., a lot of different artists that Rick Ross has pushed to the top of the charts. So he's a Drake in his own right on a smaller scale, but it's still in his own right because he was doing it way before Drake did it. He was ghostwriting for people in the late 90s, early 2000s. So he's not one of these artists that need a Drake. And he, unlike Drake, I believe has a classic album. That Teflon Don album is classic to me. That's one of the albums that doesn't really have any skips on it. It's short, it's concise. The production is fabulous. There's not too many songs on it. Drake, I don't feel like he has classic songs and classic moments, classic pop culture moments, but he doesn't have a classic album because if you have to debate between 6 albums, which one is the best, you really don't have a classic. Um, Now I know most people think that sounds crazy, but it really doesn't because most artists you can tell what their classic albums are. And some artists have a few. Like you could say Jay-Z, you could say, well, Reasonable Doubt, Blueprint, and you could take it from there. Nas, you can say he has Illmatic, he has Stillmatic, he has It Was Written, and so forth. And you can go Lil Wayne, Carter 1, 2, and 3. So you can easily say that, but Drake, you can't really pinpoint one album because most of the albums are all over the place. There's no concept albums. There's no cohesion in the albums. It's just a bunch of pop songs put together as if it was a wow, now this is music playlist. So he doesn't really have a classic album. So Ross's lyricism and hit making make him a unique artist in hip hop that he doesn't need a Drake cosign. Now we love the Migos, but they needed at that point in their career a Drake cosign, even though he wasn't on the video Versace. His lyrics, at the time he was one of the hottest artists out, and he was starting to hit his stride or his peak in hip hop. But Rick Ross has never had a track like that. You know, I can't recall the song. What's the name of that song? The song that he had on Teflon Don with Drake with Chrisette Michelle and Drake, that song stands alone without Drake. Just K Michelle alone, or he could have got anyone to sing on that song other than Drake, and it would have worked because it's just his lyricism and the Ashton Martin music. So if you take Ashton Martin music and you take Drake off, which the album version only has Drake singing on the hook, it doesn't have that third verse that Drake puts in. That's pretty good verse, but you don't need that verse to make that song. Chrisette Michelle and Rick Ross alone make that song, so forth. So anything songs that you can think of, because if you take a Deeper Than Rap album or a Triller album or Teflon Don, there's only one Drake feature on all 3 of those albums, which are 3 of Rick Ross's best albums. It has one Drake feature, and it's just singing a hook. There's no verses, there's no intro with just him on it, like a Young Thug album. There's none of that. So, he's never needed Drake, so I'm not sure why people are saying that Drake made Rick Ross's career, because he didn't. If you wanna say Trick Daddy helped and Trina helped, maybe, because he started off with those guys. I believe he used to ghostwrite for somebody. I'm not sure if it's Drake or Trina. I mean, Trina or, Trick Daddy, but he used to write for people in Florida back then, and that's how he got his start, and he started to make his own illustrious career. Now, personally, I think Rick Ross makes better music with Jay-Z and then with singers like Chris Brown, singers like John Legend, singers like The Dream. Some of his best tracks have been coming off the back of true R&B singers, not like Drake. With other rappers, I really I could do without, opposed to him being with the R&B singer or some kind of pop singer, because that's where he makes his best music. The song he has with K Michelle, one of his best tracks, one of his most underrated tracks. So his best music, I believe, doesn't even come with Drake. He does make some good songs with Drake, but I don't think it doesn't bring out the best in his artistry when he does a song with Drake. So I think Rick Ross has a talent or a skill set that stands alone that doesn't need a cosign. Now, if you want to say Drake helped an artist, like not to point him out, but like French Montana or somebody like that, you might have a claim, but not somebody that was already established. Somebody like Rick Ross, who's already gave contributions to the game before Drake was even signed to a major label. That doesn't even make sense. Now, he didn't even revitalize Rick Ross' career because he didn't hit his stride until probably about '09. So he didn't even do a song with Drake by then. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But Ross is not in that category discussion of one of those artists that needed Drake or got a boost from Drake. He's not in that category. You have to take him out of that. So he's not in there. But um, Rick Ross is one of the best artists we have, one of the most underrated artists we have, because he's not more, extroverted as much most artists are, but he does give great interviews and he does make appearances from time to time, but he's not out there like a Drake is. And if he was, he might be a bigger artist, but he's more about the artistry. He's a more old school fashion rapper that gives you the lyrics and then let you sit with the project for a few years and not just all in the videos and all that stuff. So um tell me what your thoughts about Rick Ross' career allegedly being made by Drake. And until next time, I'll see you next time.